Hi, thanks for gardening with me. I'm Melissa, and today I'm going to be planting in the front flower bed. I've got a few different things that I'm going to be planting. One is called a Daphne shrub. It's Carol McKenzie is the type of it, and it's just beautiful. When I saw it at Oakland Nursery, it stopped me in my tracks. It was $49, a little more expensive than what I like to spend, but man, it's beautiful, and I think it's just going to fit perfect in this flower bed. Also going to be planting this Caladium. This Caladium is from Proven Winner. It's Heart to Heart Scarlet Flame. And the thing that makes this so different and why I had to have it was it can be planted in sun to shade. And if you know anything about Caladiums, they only like shade. So this is a pretty big leap for Proven Winner. So I'm excited to give it a try here in this garden, and I'll let you know how it turns out. This shrub is balled and burlapped. So what I have to do, they say that you can plant the burlap. I don't like to do that because it takes a long time for the roots to get through it. So I like to cut that all away, and then I'll plant it. It'll probably end up bare root by the time I get the burlap off of it. So I'll show you what that looks like. So from the research that I have found, and I always recommend if you're going to invest money in a plant or a shrub like this that's going to be in your garden for quite some time, even things that you're just planting just for a while, do your research on them. See what conditions they like to grow in, any special characteristics about them. What I found about the Daphne is it really demands good drainage. So on this little bit of a mound, it will definitely get good drainage here. So it should really like this spot. And you want to dig your hole twice as wide as it is in the pot that it comes out of. And then when you bury it, you want it to be buried just as deep as it was in the pot, no deeper. And that is a pretty big deal because you don't want any of the bottom limbs to be touching the compost or the mulch or whatever you use to put on top of your soil for weed control. So what I'll do is I'll dig this hole and I'll add some compost to the soil that's already here. I'll also add Biotone starter fertilizer, which I add to absolutely everything that I plant. It just gives everything such a great start. It gives it all the fertilizer that it can need to get accustomed to where it's at, because it's a little stressful on these plants when it goes from one condition to another. I have had this shrub sitting out here in this spot before somebody starts drilling. I've had the shrub sitting in this spot for about 3 or 4 days just so it can get a little accustomed to where it's going to be, and I recommend doing that if it's at all possible for you. But when you're doing that, especially if it's outside in the sun, you want to make sure that you're giving it plenty of water. So what you want to do to check to make sure that you have your hole deep enough is put your shovel down there, measure the top, and then come next to your pot and see if you're at the right height. And this one I'm a little bit deeper, which is good because I want to add some compost to the bottom of the hole. I used to have a pear tree planted here, and I just ran into one of the old roots from it. Pardon me, I'm working in a very tight space here. So here I'm going to go ahead and put in my Biotone starter fertilizer, and I'll put in about a cup. And then I'll mix that in really well. So here I'll just show you real quick a little better version of that burlap, and this is the reason why you want to take it off. So I don't know how long it's been in the pot, but clearly it's not starting to bust out of this burlap yet. So I'm going to just go ahead and take it all off and get this planted. And you can see that it is level. So I'm gonna go ahead and spin this to be facing the way that I want it to. Still have a piece of string down there. There we go. So this part comes up a little bit higher, so I'm gonna have this in the back. And I'm gonna go ahead and put my compost in first. Get it all the way around. And then get this soil back in. Make sure that you don't have any air pockets in your soil going around your root ball. So you want to make sure that you put either your hand, which will totally ruin your manicure, or a shovel or something down in there so you don't have any air pockets. Go, that looks great. Now I'm just going to add some mulch. So this little caladium is pretty much going to get planted in the same way that I planted the shrub. I'm going to dig my hole a little bit bigger than the pot, and I will add a little bit of compost and add some starter fertilizer. Love it, love it, love it when I find beautiful worms living down in the soil. That is a great sign that you've got some good healthy soil. I just hate to put my shovel through them. It doesn't kill them though. They regenerate and then make 2 worms out of the 1. But I'm sure it doesn't feel good. Now this caladium, when it gets to be fall, I'm going to go ahead and dig it back up, store the bulb over the winter, and plant it again next year. Beautiful root system. Gorgeous. Add some compost. And then just backfill the soil. Make sure that there's no air pockets around the roots. And this time I'm just going to be able to put the mulch back around it that was already there. Perfect. Now the only thing left to do is water them in, and I'll show you what this bed looks like. So here you can see I have my hose still on, and I highly recommend that after you plant a shrub that you water it in really, really well. Just spraying it with the hose for 2 or 3 minutes isn't going to do the trick. So I have the hose almost off, and I'm watering it in. I'm not watering in directly on the hole because I don't want to wash away all the soil that I just put down, so I'm having it run next to it, and the way that the mound is, it will just trickle down into the plants. So I'll go ahead and show you what the front of this bed looks like now. So there it is. It looks like it's just belonged there, and I left a little bit of room around it for it to grow. You need to know how big your plants are going to get. If you plant something in a space that only has 6 inches on either side and it's going to grow to be 10 feet tall, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. This plant at maturity will be 4 feet wide and 3 to 4 feet tall, and I can definitely prune that to make it, you know, closer to the size that I want, but I think 4 feet wide will just be absolutely perfect in this area. So I'll give you a wide shot of what that bed looks like right there. And I have a few things that are variegated. Here I have the variegated euonymus that has the yellow and green, and then behind that I have the variegated euonymus that is the green and white. And there's some branches in there that are completely white, so that's pretty neat. But here it is from this view. I just think it looks really, really good. And the Daphne gets flowers on it in the late winter, early spring, and they say it will just smell up the whole yard, which is why I thought it would be a great idea to have it in the walkway leading up to the house. And there's the rest of the beds. And there is my little dog in the neighbor's yard. I don't know what she thinks she's doing. Gizmo, get over here. She's a good girl. Come here. So there you go. I have my Daphne planted as well as my Caladium, and I'll show you a little bit later on in the season how they look. Thank you so much for gardening with me. God bless. Have a great week.